NBC Sports Radio. You're listening to Amani and Eitan.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
On NBC Sports Radio and NBCSportsRadio.com.
Aaron Hernandez appears to be in hot water as the details and information continuing to come out. Just doesn't look too good. But listen, not jumping to any conclusions. We don't play lawyers on the radio, Amani. In fact, that's why we go to one. Xavier Pope, sports business entertainment attorney, best dressed man in radio as well. Listen, for me, it's fine. I'm in the ball shorts and T-shirt. You know that. Xavier, we appreciate the time tonight alongside Amani Toomer, Eitan Shander. And let's start with what we know as far as the actual reports that have been released. Where does Aaron Hernandez stand, at least at the moment?
Well, currently, Aaron Hernandez, Patriots tight end, he's not been ruled out as a suspect officially. And this is an execution-style murder of a gentleman, Odin Lloyd, who was a semi-professional football player. So that's where things stand. But we do know currently that police have determined that he has destroyed his home security system, and a phone was turned over by his lawyer, which was completely smashed. So things are looking worse and worse by the hour. Then we have the bizarre O.J. Simpson-style coverage of him going through the street with the white Audi Q7 SUV and things of that nature. So just some weird things going on, and it just every hour seems like something new is coming out about Aaron Hernandez.
Now, if you were his lawyer and some of this stuff came out over the last couple of days, a lot of people are questioning the fact that he did not go in and he was not cooperative with the police. If you were his lawyer, would you tell him to do this exact same thing, or how would you counsel a guy like Aaron Hernandez knowing the situation?
Great question. First of all, I would not have my client driving through the streets of Boston for what seemed like hours. Going from place to place, running into the Patriots practice facility, coming out and driving through the streets. He needs to completely lay low at this point. And his lawyers need to say something publicly. Defend your client. Say something. Because right now, Aaron Hernandez looks like he potentially may be a convicted murderer on the loose. So they need to come out and say something about him.
Why do you think that nothing has been said right now from the attorney standpoint? If you look at it from his group of attorneys, what would be taking so long to get a statement, Xavier?
Well, typically, they probably are gathering information the same way police are, looking to see how they can cooperate with authorities, what level of guilt the client may have at this time. And you have to remember, there's another suit going on against Aaron Hernandez, where a gentleman who claims that he was shot through his arm to his face, and that was initially thrown out, that's now being refiled. So he's dodging two, excuse the language, bullets at the same time, essentially, because now he has two situations that he's dealing with at the same time. So what I'm thinking is there's maybe a fact gathering situation going on by the lawyers to determine when and where should they come out and make a statement.
Now, as a lawyer, what do you've seen a lot of these types of cases? I know a lot of us have seen them on CSI or Law and Order, like my co-host here, Eitan. But who aren't familiar with it, it just seems very strange to us. And from your professional standpoint, would you? I mean, I know you're going to say he looks guilty, or he is guilty, or he's not guilty, but right. Does it seem like a guy, like actions of a person who has done something wrong?
I think those are the great cautious words to use, Amani. I've said to everyone, first, realize that he's not been charged with a crime. Mm-hmm. Secondly, he's not been arrested. And third, there's been no trial and no actual releasing of evidence to show any guilt or innocence. And so although his behavior may seem strange, to Aaron, he's going about his daily activities, so to speak. But refusing to cooperate with authorities, he may not necessarily have had the chance to go over what may or may not happen with his lawyers. The lawyers may have just found out, just like we did, that he had a cleaning company coming to his home. The lawyers may have just found out, like we did, there was maybe a destruction of the security system. So they're gathering facts just as we're gathering facts, so they can determine, okay, this is what we probably need to do in order to determine the timeline in which we need to cooperate with authorities.
Xavier Pope joining us, Amani Naton, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. How about this type of situation? Because I think a lot of us, when we look at it, and you just mentioned something about Aaron Hernandez going about his day-to-day. My day-to-day, with a microscope like this, and God forbid anything like this happening to me, would definitely be different. But we're talking about somebody who's a star, and relatively speaking, Xavier, in New England, a superstar. So how then does this get treated, at least from the other side, from the legal side, as far as from the police and the maybe district attorney trying to gather evidence against somebody who plays in the NFL?
Well, from the standpoint of the police, they want to get as much information as humanly possible before they go ahead and file charges. Because they don't want, in a situation where there's a public figure, to prematurely press charges against someone, because that would make them look incredibly bad. And so that's why maybe you haven't seen any statement made in one way or another. He's not been ruled out. That's vague language for saying we are still looking for information. And so it's a very painstaking process to determine specifically whether there's probable cause for an arrest, and then secondly, whether they're based on any search warrants they may currently have, what type of evidence they may gather in order to strengthen that probable cause for that arrest.
So now the fact that he's not arrested now doesn't mean that he's more innocent or more guilty. It just means that they want to be extra careful in cases like this. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right, Amani. They have to take certain steps in order to protect the police department so that they are seen as not necessarily going after someone who is famous or a celebrity. They want, because now the spotlight is on the police department and the district attorney's office just as much as it is on Aaron Hernandez to do a good job in presenting an effective case. Because once they do this, and they go against and file charges, and we go to a trial, this has to hold up in court at the end of the day. And so they have to be extremely careful with taking steps with a trial that could have a public nature to it, especially with a star NFL player.
Xavier Pope, sports business entertainment attorney, joining us at Xavier Pope on Twitter. Amani and Naton, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. You look at what has been released, and I know that it's a source from the law officials, and it's not anything that's fact. And again, as you said, it needs to be held up in court. But what has been released via the media to the public, this timeline of Hernandez and two guys with the victim, and then the victim not being there, it doesn't look good on the surface. What now happens as far as the public sentiment, and how, I guess, do you even begin to control that, knowing that a lot of people right now think Aaron Hernandez is guilty?
Absolutely. Now you're looking at damage control, and I think it may have got out of control already with the bizarre driving through the streets of Boston. It just during a time where there was the NBA Finals conclusion. Looks a lot like what happened with OJ in 1994. And so now the public has seen images of this before. And so it's really difficult to maybe put up a barrier of your guilt or innocence to the public. But that's really not Aaron Hernandez and his attorney's job. Their job is to ascertain what facts are apparent in a case and determine whether their client is guilty or innocent, and then proceed with the legal system in that manner, because their main goal is to make sure their client doesn't go to jail. Really, that's really the bottom line. And so the public image of that is not so much as concerned as making sure that they're protecting his guilt or innocence.
Moving forward, I mean, all these images that you're talking about, if they're going to try the case and put it into a local court, do you think they're going to have to to change the venue or something because of the fact that the jury might be tampered with already?
Change of venue is extremely difficult, Amani, in a situation like this, when you're looking at a local person, a local celebrity who's highly visible. But so the voir dire, which is selection of the jury, is going to be difficult for the prosecuting and the defense side to determine who doesn't know who this guy is and what has happened in this case. It's a difficult process, but change of venue. It's difficult in this situation because the case is highly local.
Mm-hmm. Xavier, I'm curious, if you were to look at it from a prosecutorial standpoint, is there anything that you would either do different, not, I know, knowing privy details, but just on the surface, is there anything that you would be gathering or looking at right now?
Absolutely. I would be looking at maybe seeing whether we can get some phone records. Because just because Aaron Hernandez destroyed his phone doesn't necessarily mean that the evidence that's what happened with his phone is gone. You have the triangulation of any satellites that may be, not satellites, but cell towers that were in the area to determine where Aaron Hernandez was. You saw that his rental car potentially was leaked to being close to the body of Mr. Lloyd. So I would be looking into that to determine how can we see where Aaron Hernandez was, where his movements were, where they were. And so that's what I would be looking into if I was the prosecutor.
Is there anything, and I know that it can't be used in court, but as far as information gathering, how much would you go back to other incidents that aren't related necessarily to this homicide?
Well, you can't really use prior bad acts, and that's not admissible evidence in trial. So you could look at them, but they will not be able to be used in court. So you're looking at a situation where he was linked to some information about him, his character when he was getting drafted. You can't use that in a criminal trial. So that's a little bit difficult. You can say look at it and see the psychological profile of a defendant, but you really can't do anything more than that.
Xavier Pope, at Xavier Pope on Twitter, sports business entertainment attorney. It's been a very insightful, and we appreciate you spending some time, and definitely check back as this thing develops. It truly will be developing more as hours come along. We'll be definitely staying in tune. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks a lot, Xavier.
Our thanks to Xavier Pope, Amadi and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio. Xavier brought to you by IBM. Want to do more for less with your IT? Learn about the affordable IBM System X3650 M4 Express server at IBM.com/more for less. Amadi and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio.
More next. This is NBC Sports Radio, where every day is game day. One is a Super Bowl champion.
Makes the catch! Touchdown!
The other is the voice of the fan. Together, they take the game to a whole new level. Amani Toomer, Eitan Chander. It's Amani and Eitan on NBC Sports Radio. And it starts now.
Far from going away, Aaron Hernandez awaiting trial as more details come out. We've even got word from Aaron Hernandez's mother, who believes, quote, that his son will be cleared of all charges. I don't think we're ready to go that far on the Amani and Eitan show. Let's bring in Xavier Pope, at Xavier Pope on Twitter, sports business entertainment attorney. He's our unofficial guy. I use unofficial, Xavier, because we're not paying you. As always, man, it's great to chat with you. How are you tonight?
I'm fantastic, Eitan. How are you?
You know, I'm doing well, and whenever family members and whenever people close to somebody who's being charged with the crime come out and say, listen, he's innocent, I think for the most part, Xavier, the public says, okay, that's what we expect. When you see something from the attorney eye, is there anything calculated in here that you think that Aaron Hernandez's mother coming out saying that her son will be acquitted of the murder charges against him? Is there anything strategic about this?
I don't think so. It's one of those situations where a parent, a close person may come out and say, my son or daughter will be cleared of all charges. It's just one of those things you say. And it would be different if the PR around Aaron Hernandez was effectively handled by his whole team, his lawyers. I tweeted about this earlier this week about the 7 reasons why Aaron Hernandez's lawyers spoofed
Hmm.
And one of the mistakes they made was not get in front of this story and not necessarily conducting a thorough, independent investigation when the charges first started to get wind to the public, and they didn't put out an initial statement about his guilt or innocence.
Right.
Waited to 10 plus days afterwards, and so it put really the public cry against Aaron Hernandez, and actually it makes the jury selection a little bit more difficult for him as well, because that whole entire New England's area, who are rabid Patriots fans, it's going to be hard to find an impartial person in that group.
When you look at, and I guess this does go back to how they handle things, because now as more detail comes out, as a defense attorney, how can you possibly spin, or how can you possibly go and I guess counter this notion that a double murder that Aaron Hernandez could be linked to would be possible motive for this alleged murder here?
Well, from a legal standpoint, you would have to connect the actual crime. So Aaron Hernandez would probably have to be charged with a crime in that case. Prior bad acts aren't admissible at trial. And so if it's some situation where he was involved, when he wasn't charged with a crime, that's not admissible evidence, because it could potentially taint a jury. So we are looking to see what else comes out in this case. So we'll see what happens as relates to that. But as far as this specific evidence of the current case that he's charged with,
right,
it's circumstantial because there's no gun.
Right. And I guess as far as this, it looks like basically what I was saying is it looks like they're trying to gather motive now, right? And then do you get that opinion as well, that with this double murder that they may try to use as far as a cover-up, any type of motive?
Yeah, I think in the case of motive, you may be able to see as in the investigation to kind of to discover a little bit of motive. Where it comes as far as admissibility, that's the key defining line. Because every element of a case the foundation has to be laid.
Mm-hmm.
In any case where you use foundation, you have to have admissible evidence under each point that you have to prove at a trial.
Xavier Pope joining us, Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. If you're his defense attorney right now, knowing what I guess we all know in the public, what strategy do you even begin going down right now?
Well, the strategy obviously would be, you heard the statements about maybe Aaron Hernandez fearing for his life.
Yes.
So now you want to find out what other characters are involved with Aaron Hernandez. There's talk of him being involved in gangs and potential violence. Maybe find out what's going on with the background of some of these other characters, and maybe show that he was in a situation, maybe he was, and prove he was fearing for his life. That would be one part of the defense. Another part would be to show that there is no physical evidence linking Aaron Hernandez directly to the killing of Odin Lloyd via there not being a gun present. And that puts in a situation where you want to address the reasonable doubt, because that's what you need to acquit a defendant in a criminal case. You just need reasonable doubt. And if you're able to, with pointing out that there is no physical evidence as far as an actual weapon linking Aaron Hernandez to the killing of Odin Lloyd, and you plant that in the mind of one person in the jury, not all 12, just one person, he could potentially be acquitted of a crime.
Xavier, what did you make of Aaron Hernandez being arrested first before the other alleged accomplice in Connecticut?
I just think that they were going for the big fish, and we've talked about this previously, why it took a while for them to just, instead of just going out with the obstruction of justice and the murder, it was about making a big statement. You see that the DA in this case, he once had an unsuccessful run for office in that state. He wanted to make a big splash. I know he has big political aspirations in that state. And so you look at that as a crowning, maybe achievement of him being in office and looking to higher aspirations. That's separate from the case, but you have to look at any criminal case as it relates to a DA and what other aspects are there and what motives may be present for the particular DA as well.
How right now is, and I know that you've said that you can't admit the prior bad act, and I'm sure that's why they're trying to tie together this double murder, this unsolved double murder in Boston as maybe means or as maybe cover up. But the problem, I would think, from the defense side is this is being discussed. This double murder in July of 2012 continues to be discussed, and details of that murder still come out. So in the court of public opinion, he is now being tried for that double murder as well.
Absolutely. In the trial of public opinion, he's a murderer.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Guy. And you still have the situation in Florida where someone's suing him for shooting through the person's arm and blinding him in one eye. What if that investigation opens back up, and then he opens himself up to be another criminal proceeding as well?
Do you see, and just dealing with sports and entertainment law, dealing with high-profile names and seeing cases like this, there has been talk, and, this is always what happens in the sports media world, where something outside of the world of sports or athletics happens, and then we say, well, how can we change it? And will this be an awakening? I don't know if this is going to be a deterrent for anybody else, because people still get in trouble, and lawyers are still in demand because people are still doing stuff.
Difficult to point to this particular situation and say Aaron Hernandez changed off the field incidents for athletes. I doubt it. You have to look into the background of some of these guys who maybe come from troubled beginnings, and some of the people that are around them sometimes involved with drugs and illegal crime and things of that nature, contributing to them having a means of support until they actually turn pro. And so some of these individuals may want a little bit of piece of that cut of the pie once the person becomes pro. And so you have situations where the underworld is involved in athletics, whether we want to admit it or not. There's an element there. And whether that deters that involvement, I doubt it. Stopping criminals for getting involved with some of these, with some people that come from underprivileged backgrounds, that's speculative at this point.
Xavier Pope joining us, Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. Total guess right here I'm asking for, but based on what you've seen, the charges, the fact that they were able to charge him with first-degree murder, do you anticipate, at any, save a miracle on the defense, do you anticipate Aaron Hernandez not serving any jail time?
I anticipate Aaron Hernandez to spend the rest of his natural life in prison, although there are no lesser charges by the prosecution. They went straight for first-degree murder. They believe their case is so strong they didn't have to include any lesser offenses of homicide.
Why? Now, and you said because they believe it's so strong, but nothing's a slam dunk, right? Do you have
nothing?
You don't have anything to fall back on?
There's nothing to fall back on, and typically, in certain situations, the prosecution will try to argue other theories of guilt. And if they don't get first-degree murder, maybe they get manslaughter, maybe they get second-degree murder. That's not apparent here. They really believe that they have so much strong evidence. And we'll see more evidence. The upcoming evidence we have that's coming out is sealed right now, so we don't know what's coming out. But as we learn what's going on through trial, we may see a mountain of evidence against Aaron Hernandez, and we may discover why the prosecution in this case feels that their case is so incredibly strong.
And follow me on this timeline here, and fill in what you can from a legal perspective. But it looks like right now, when you see the fact that Hernandez was brought in first before the other guy, and Hernandez was charged with the first-degree murder, and there's nothing else there. And they also have somebody now that they can add to Hernandez. Is there anything? Is it illogical for me to think that he's the shooter based on anything? It looks like they're not willing to hear his side of the story to get him to roll on anybody else. It's like they want everybody to roll on him.
Exactly. And this is a unique situation. We really haven't seen anything like this. It's a lot of fans and initial media was talking about the Aaron Hernandez situation as if it was like Ray Lewis. where they were trying to get him to roll on his friends. It was the complete opposite in this situation. They're looking for people to roll on Aaron Hernandez. He's the main guy. He's the big fish.
Now, what is that? Does that mean because of celebrity, or do you think that means because of legal involvement, i.e., possibility of him being a shooter?
I.e., he is the shooter. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Xavier,
you see the
go ahead. Sorry.
You see the damaging picture of him taking the picture with a gun.
Yeah.
The text message to his sister. Just really, really damning evidence against him. And if we find out more information about him, we may discover just what the prosecution learned is that this is just a really bad guy.
Not looking good at all, man. Great information and insight as always at Xavier Pope on Twitter. Xavier Pope, man. Look forward to getting some more as this progresses, and I'm sure there'll be some other stuff we'll chat with soon. Thanks again for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ethan.
All right, you got it. Monty and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. That right there is what Xavier talking about, that picture with a gun. It's not necessarily the fact that he's holding a gun. It's why. I'll bring you that next. Monty and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio.
NBC Sports Radio.
Hi, this is Sean Elliott, first color television analyst. When I'm not covering the NBA, I'm listening to NBC Sports Radio.
This is NBC Sports Radio. You're listening to Amani and Eitan. NBC Sports Radio and NBCSportsRadio.com.
Aaron Hernandez could be looking at more charges as the news just not good as the New England Patriots having to face the music today. From a football standpoint, how does it impact Aaron and really the case itself moving forward? And we are joined by one of the best in the business, sports business entertainment attorney Xavier Pope. You can follow him on Twitter at Xavier Pope alongside Amani Toomer, Eitan Shander. Xavier, good to have you back on, man. How's things?
Thanks, guys, for having me on. Things are great.
All right, well, let's jump right into it as far as the latest that we get today on a Wednesday, that more charges could be coming Aaron Hernandez's way, and what it looks like it could be something completely unrelated to what he's already been arrested for.
Absolutely. Now prosecutors are looking to make a case in Suffolk County grand jury that he would be charged in the death of two gentlemen, Safiria Furtado and Daniel Abreu. They were shot on July 16th of 2012 in South End in Boston. We've heard rumors about this before, but it looks like they're strengthening their case, the prosecutors are, and potentially might be in ready to charge him with this crime. And so it looks like it's just getting more and more every day. It's amazing, guys. Just amazing.
Now, Aaron Hernandez is what did this trial today mean? Because there's no way he was going to get off.
No, well, absolutely not. Well, he has two places that he's two counties he's with right now. He's there in Bristol, and he has Suffolk County. And this is a probable cause hearing, was just to determine whether there should be a formal charge against him, and that was pretty much it. It looks as if the state wanted to get more time, to get more evidence, to formalize the grand jury in Bristol, while at the same time the Suffolk County grand jury is looking to bring him on formal charges of the double murder.
Does this have anything to do with the strength or weakness of their case by the fact that they need to take more time?
I don't really think so. I think that this is more so finding out what Suffolk County may be doing and maybe exchanging certain evidence between the two jurisdictions, I think, to determine how effectively to move through procedurally with each case. I really think that the two jurisdictions are working together to make sure that both cases are strong against him, but making sure they are getting all their ducks in order. But I think it doesn't take a lot to move forward with a probable cause hearing. It's not like a similar trial or something to that effect. It's pretty a slam dunk to move through one of these proceedings.
So based on the probable cause hearing today, in your gut looks like they will charge him with something related to this double homicide in 2012?
Yeah, Absolutely. So what happens is with the grand jury, they issue what's known as a formal indictment, and it will basically outline exactly what has happened and why this case should be going to trial. That's going to happen. Just August is when it will probably wrap up, and you'll see formally what it looks like. It's just a mere formality at this point.
Now, Aaron Hernandez is 23 years old. We all know that. Is there any possibility if he is found guilty that he'll ever see the light of day, or is this a life imprisonment he's looking up against?
Well, I think, Amani, you have to look at not only the trial with Odin Lloyd, you have to also look at the Suffolk County case. If he's indeed charged with the double murder, he's never going to see the light of day. If he's convicted of both of those crimes, I don't think that anyone expects Aaron Hernandez to ever see the streets.
Xavier Pope joining us, Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio. All right, so we're looking at two possible charges, two different jurisdictions going down. Does it matter either for the state or for Aaron Hernandez if they're tried to congruently, separately? Does this all matter?
Well, it matters from a procedural standpoint as far as gathering of evidence, as far as witnesses and things of that nature. And I think that's the only reason why it's taking one jurisdiction time in order for the proper procedure so that both cases can be tried potentially concurrently, essentially.
Now, how strong do you think the case is? Again, I mean, we don't know the evidence, but your gut feeling, is this a slam dunk case for the prosecution?
Well, it looks like more and more every day that this looks like a slam dunk for the prosecution. You're seeing more warrants are being issued. More information is being sent out to get more evidence. It's just every day something else is coming in, and it looks as if Aaron Hernandez is in a lot of trouble. I think it's just not a matter of if; it's more so a matter of when everything comes down. It could take a couple of years, obviously, but it looks like Aaron Hernandez is in a lot of hot water.
Xavier, one of the alleged accomplices in the Lloyd case, Carlos Ortiz, were led to believe that he's looking for complete immunity and to turn total evidence over towards Aaron Hernandez. From a legal standpoint, if you were defending Aaron Hernandez, knowing the justice system works like this all the time, where you get information from not-so-savory characters, how do you go about maybe discrediting Ortiz, or how do you go about trying to neutralize somebody like that?
That's a great question. I think the first thing you would do to neutralize someone like Ortiz is to talk about the fact that when everything happened, he ran. He left the jurisdiction. He subverted the law. And so the first objective would be to discredit his witness testimony. And I think that would be the most important thing to do so that anything that he says potentially becomes discredited on the witness stand.
That doesn't sound like it's going to – I mean, that does – it just seems like so much stuff is mounting up against Aaron Hernandez, and there's something to be said that the Patriots released him before he was even right after he got arrested. So it just seems very far-fetched that he's not going to get off of this.
I completely agree, Amani.
That he's going to get off of this, excuse me.
And you have to look at what did he tell the Patriots when he went into that facility, and will Belichick, other employees of the Patriots be called to the stand to ascertain what he told them? And I think that's a pretty big deal. And I think that's interesting that no one's making a big deal out of that portion of it and involving the Patriots even more. It's probably the reason why they distance themselves so quickly from him.
Xavier Pope joining us, Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com. Just a question about the two cases again, assuming that they'll both be going forward around the same time. What happens if one just becomes either weak or one becomes a case in which maybe the prosecutor, the DA, believes that if they can't cut a deal, they can't win? Do you see something, maybe they drop the charges and focus solely on the one that they have the most strength on, or does the law just kind of not work that way?
The law does not work that way at the time. You have to look at the individual merits of each case and the strength of the evidence and the witnesses that are brought in, the experts, to bring to trial. And so you're looking at a completely different set of elements to prove standards of guilt and in light of different sets of evidence. And so you really have to look at each case individually, although there may be some evidence that overlaps as far as the motive of Aaron Hernandez potentially going out and killing Odin Lloyd because he was possibly having information about the double homicide. You still have to look at each individual case on its merits.
Xavier, we appreciate it, man, and I'm sure more information will continue to come out, and we haven't even hit trial and everything, so we're going to need you, brother, by all means.
Absolutely. I'll be here every step along the way.
All right, Xavier Pope, sports business analyst at Xavier Pope on Twitter. It is Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSportsRadio.com, the app on your phone and tablet. You can hit us up again. The O'Reilly email, Ask the Pros inbox, Ask the Pros at NBCSportsRadio.com, 855-323-4NBC, 855-323-4622, at AE Show, NBC on Twitter. We've tracked down the Mets call of this gruesome Tim Hudson injury tonight. Already people out there trying to point the blame, point the finger. Is Tim Hudson, do you agree though with us that Tim Hudson's at fault, solely at fault tonight for his own injury? Is it a freak, something that was unavoidable? Eric Young, should we be pointing the finger at him, or possibly Tim Hudson's manager in Freddie Gonzalez? 855-323-4NBC, 855-323-4622, at AE Show NBC on Twitter. Amani and Eitan, NBC Sports Radio.
Don't go anywhere. There's always more on the way on NBC Sports Radio.
Let's get the people ready, man. You ready to style them in sports?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Best dressed man in the business, EXnBC show.
You are looking at the best closer this city has ever seen.
Closer, huh? Baseball?
Attorney, I close situations.
What if I told you that I consume knowledge like no one you've ever met and I've actually passed the bar? I'd say you're full of crap.
And, lucky you, I have room for one more student. Think of me as Yoda. Only instead of being little and green, I wear suits and I'm awesome. I'm your bro. I'm Broda. Okay, meet me at the bar in 15 minutes and suit up! Suit up! You suited up! Birthday suiting up! Slut up! Suit up! Suit up! Suit it up! Suit up! Suit up! Space suit up! Suit up!
Welcome to Suit Up for yours truly, sports entertainment attorney Xavier Pope, the best dressed man in radio. Well, sports is a business. Let's talk about it. I don't know if this first topic deserves to be on Suit Up or Kill That Noise.
Both. Come on with it.
BC didn't even hear about this.
Nope.
When he hears it, I guarantee
I guarantee you, BC, you are going to go insane. Siobhan Wade.
I did hear about this.
Is not being reported on any mainstream news at all. Attempted to serve Heat's president, Pat Riley, at Game 5 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals at American Airlines Arena. At the arena. Game 5.
Come on, man.
Based on distribution of marital assets, that suit that she has against Wade in Chicago, to force him to testify about how much money Dwayne Wade makes.
He's a professional basketball player.
You can find that out on the internet
easily.
What are you going?
But why you gotta subpoena the man's boss? He ain't got nothing to do with that.
It's just drama, keeping it up. You know, he took his boys back.
Hey, that chick is crazy, man. That's why Dwayne Wade got custody of his
kid. Because she's bonkers, literally.
Because you are a nut job.
Like I said, either this was in Suit Up or Kill That Noise.
She could get an extra check for being crazy, on top of the checks that Dwayne already given. I think she getting like $30,000 a month.
Exactly.
A month.
She can have her own reality show.
She is her own reality show.
She is her own reality show.
She is crazy.
So apparently, the process server, Chris Yeoman, called the Heat unprofessional because he was turned away with the first attempted service after some wrangling, because it's against the law to turn down getting subpoenaed. Eventually, Pat Riley was served. No one's talking about this. I find this very odd that no one's in mainstream media is actually talking about this. Maybe it's because the Heat are in the finals. No one will distract from that. But I just thought it was a strange story.
Or people is just tired of it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh my God.
Yeah. An unfortunate story in the NBA, staying in the NBA. that Mookie Blaylock has been charged with vehicular homicide.
Unbelievable.
From the head-on-head crash in suburban Atlanta. I was just there last weekend. Unfortunately, he was charged with driving on a suspended license and failure to maintain his lane. He crossed over to the center lane, and then he hit another car. The husband suffered minor injuries, but the wife was the individual that actually was killed.
But
So
he said he blacked out, though. That's what Mookie said. He blacked out. He got a history of seizures.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's something like that, and he's able to walk away from that situation, as opposed to maybe something a little bit more heinous, like drunk driving, or something to that effect. Hopefully it's not. That's unfortunate. Our prayers go out to the family of the individual that passed away. It's an unfortunate situation for Mookie Blaylock. On to the NFL. $1 billion for Verizon's to extension of rights to stream NFL games to phones. Much props to you, Verizon. I tried to become a customer for you guys. Poor customer service. I went over to T-Mobile.
I thought you were about to say you tried to put in a bid. I tried to put in a bid, but they got me.
I'm trying to get in the bid, my $1. And so the new deal starts in 2014 and allow Verizon to stream every NFL regular season game and playoff game to mobile phones, and forever to obliterate the distinction between sponsor and media rights deal. That's incredible. That's incredible. The NFL is a cash cow.
Yeah, man. They get paper.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
It's really that simple. More news in NFL. A second suspect has been arrested in the weekend stabbing of Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman Mike Adams. It's an unfortunate situation.
What's up with these football players, man? And trouble just seems to follow them wherever they go.
Well, it was attempted carjacking, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do any. It had nothing to do with him. You're a rich guy driving around in a car. Someone tries to carjack you.
That could happen anywhere.
That can happen to anywhere, to anybody.
You can be driving down Wilshire Boulevard.
Yeah. We're glad that he's gonna probably make a full recovery from that. But that's just a really terrible
Are you cool
situation.
with athletes carrying guns?
Yeah.
If it's legal?
We talked about that during the break.
Absolutely.
That if you're an athlete and it's legal to carry a gun, I'm packing. I'm rolling in a fat whip with tinted windows. Someone wants to take my stuff, I'm blasting.
Or an entourage that's packing.
Somebody's packing.
Yeah.
And I'm a person. I don't like guns. I'm not a person who carries a gun. But I'm gonna use the BC stance. I can understand where these guys are coming from, why they would hold a gun. And I think that sometimes you see a gun arrest, and people are like, okay, why did the athlete do that? All he was pretty much doing was protecting his property, not trying to go out and rob or murder someone or shoot up in the air in the club.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm an athlete, if I'm not going to shoot you, I'm probably going to have somebody with me who will, though. So, whatever.
Get your Tank Johnson on.
Hey, man, you can't be, you got to be cognizant these days, man. People target athletes and entertainers and regular people.
Just trying to start things in spots that you're at.
Yeah.
Going to a little bit of the NCAA. A lot of things are going on in NCAA. Ohio State University President Gordon G. We talked about this on Twitter. He's announced his retirement, quote unquote.
We'll talk about that from a different perspective than stock up, stock down too.
No, let's hold on to the Gordon G stuff until we get to stock up, stock down. How about we do that?
Let's do it.
Let's do that. On to more news. I know that that Sean hates me talking about Rutgers, but we got to talk about it because it's an ongoing.
Every week, man.
That's what's going on with the school. Julie Herman.
This is the Rutgers segment of the show, ladies and
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Every week.
But, I mean, if this is in the news.
We understand it.
You know, I mean, hey, this was going on. So, Julie Herman, she was set to visit the schools, and they canceled some of it. So, it's been kind of a mixed situation with her support on the school as far as her AD position. It's still up in the air. So, we don't know whether she's going to be fired or not. And so that's the situation there. That's your Rutgers news of the week on Suit Up. Okay?
No good news. It's good news.
And the SEC, which I call amateur football, semi-professional, is distributing a $289.4 million to its 14 league members in revenue sharing plan for 2012-2013 fiscal year.
They got it, though. They make the most money in college football.
They are making. While the Big 12 distributes $198 million. That's not a lot. That's not too far behind.
Yeah. But, I mean, those are the two powerhouse conferences in college football. Sorry, Pac-10. Y'all, it's been a wrap for y'all.
And a quick piece about people were in an uproar about this. This happened around the same time as some other college scandals about the Pac-12 independent investigation into the officiating issue that happened in the Pac-12 tournament that ultimately led to the resignation of Pac-12 coordinator of officials Ed Rush. It was detailed but didn't really suggest any further sanctions. So that's a little piece on that. And
we got our guy Justin Hood checking in on Facebook. Says Savon Wade is crazier than Coca-Cola and a bag of Pop Rocks.
Man, that's kind of violent, too.
I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you, my friend.
Hey, Pop Rocks can kind of come in handy, though. Leave it at that.
Last piece on Suit Up. That's crazy. And they just hit me just now. The Pacers, Game 7, was 8.9, I think, rating. But down 5.5% from last year's Eastern Conference Finals. You guys surprised about that? About the ratings being down? It looked like everybody was watching it. I was
Indiana,
surprised.
bro. It's Indiana.
Yeah.
Compared to 2 years ago when it was Heat Bulls. Yeah. It's Indiana. That's why David Stern was so happy this morning talking on ESPN.
I know he was.
It's like, oh, I dodged the Indiana Spurs bullet.
Well,
that's his last. You know what? For this to be his last NBA Finals as commissioner, it's pretty good legacy.
That's pretty good.
To leave
That's Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
LeBron James. It's pretty
good.
Well, that's been Suit Up from the best dressed man in radio.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Odds on Jamarcus Russell if he gets signed, where his welcome back to the NFL party is going to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
I got 4-1 odds on Adriana's.
Adriana's.
It better be at Whole Foods.
Or the factory. This has been Suit Up, the best dressed man in radio. Yours truly, Xavier Pope. Wow. What sports is a business? Let's talk about it always on the EXnBC show. Jared Payton Sports Network, Chicagoland Sports Radio, EXnBC show.